Hi all, welcome to another episode of Saturday Architecture. Last week, I was listening to Build and it kind of threw me off my balance because I was thinking I would use the Power Platform in a certain way, and I had a certain vision of how my company solution should go forward. Now, that's been an idea which has been around 10 months in my mind, and I've been slowly working on it. And for whatever reason, it didn't go at the pace that I wanted. But when I heard build, I quickly came to realize that a lot of the solution which I had visualized had become irrelevant. Now I have to scrap everything and understand the products a little bit more and re-architect something. Now that seems very overwhelming. And there's no point in continuing the old thing for two reasons. One, it doesn't make sense. Why would you use an old feature when the new exists? And second, today in the SaaS kind of world, you can't even develop with your old versions because it's simply not there anymore. It's become obsolete and it has been removed. Okay, so that old feature doesn't exist anymore, right? It's just simply gets disabled. So in this kind of a thing, right? And this, what I'm talking is just one ecosystem, and within that ecosystem of Microsoft, a smaller universe of Power Platform. Now, if I'm going to be expanded across, and this is within apps itself, just apps. Now, if I look at it as infrastructure, security across organizations of Amazon, Google, third-party providers, it becomes mind-boggling to keep in touch with what's happening. So, as an architect, how do we handle?
So, yeah, see, the you're right in the sense that the world keeps evolving while we might be developing a solution in the past, right? Which is like the technology has moved on. But the way I see the evolving of technology is that if we focus on making sure that we understand the breadth of the technology, right? Because Power Platform might be a big platform and there might be so many components to it. From architect's perspective, the level of knowledge is required is how does the sample use case actually, which usually Microsoft will show you what is the sample use case for this application and how does that relate to your environment, and that's what should be the first port of call, I would say, to find out whether this technology is useful in your environment or not. Because the way product managers want to showcase you something, they want to showcase you the best possible use case and the one which uh, they've been working on with customers, right? That's what they product managers want to execute.
Okay, so basically, focus on the use case and just see that simple demo or whatever and try to relate it to it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So instead of getting too deep into what the exact features of that platform are, you should definitely look at the use case which is exhibited in the first YouTube clip which you see for that product, right? Because that is the what they call as the hero use case, right?
Yeah.
And
So,
right.
yeah, okay. Any other point?
So other thing is, especially if you're in unfamiliar territory, right? This is like you don't know what this product is, right? And then the my sort of the instinctive reaction to find out anything is find out if that product or that concept or whatever else you're trying to learn has a Wikipedia page. Okay, because in most scenarios, people would summarize what that concept is in a Wikipedia page, or they will summarize the product or what the history behind it is in a single page in Wikipedia. And the first 5 to 10 minutes, you will get the gist of that concept or that product, why it exists, and history, and all those things in first 5 minutes, right? So that is my means that's a trick which I use to find out anything, whether because in most cases, that Wikipedia page might itself be written by the people who invented that concept, or people who wrote that product, right? So that's because the reason why I go to Wikipedia first rather than the product page is because in Wikipedia page, most of the marketing is taken out, right? And you get to the core very, very quickly, and it doesn't take too much time. So that's one my sort of go-to tip for finding out stuff.
Super. Thanks, Deepak. Uh, I think for me, one is of course I kind of I'm. It depends on the personality, right? I use a lot of YouTube, so I kind of subscribe to some of the people who make content around the areas that we are there, and I subscribe to the YouTube channel, so it kind of keeps uh, popping up on my timeline. Okay, and whenever I'm bored, so instead of watching something entertainment-ish kind of a thing, since it pops, I let it run for some 5-10 minutes and see it. Even if it's a 40-minute video, just watch it for the first 4-5 minutes will give you some insight into that. Uh, Kind of related to that, right? Now, the people who post videos are experts in that. They go a little deep into that. So taking that forward, it is the other thing is to create your own network of other experts who are specialized in that and work on keeping that network, keeping talking to them. Like for example, I guess if you take our network here, any depth, little more depth around, let's say, uh, Java. I guess somebody like Nishan would be a good person. I was just thinking on that front. Maybe we need to do advances in Java. I think it's been quite some time since I've seen that. So get to identify people in your network who are specialists in a particular domain and touch base with them monthly or once in 2 months, and just tell them, give me the gist of what are the good use cases that we can do. So they would have thought that, and they would kind of give you the information. So two things. One is third party experts, subscribe to them either in Reddit or blogs or podcasts or whatever, so that it lands in your thing, because it's so hard to figure out what to learn because there's so many things happening. So you have a connect to that person. That person will tell you what is the interesting thing that has come up. Second, within your network, so unknown experts, known experts. So create a network of them so that they kind of feed into you what is happening, and then that kind of gives you the broad picture of things.
Yeah, so as you said, for example, if you take the Flutter we use predominantly for our development, and we'll subscribe to the Flutter weekly challenge. So this is kind of newsletter. We will be letting it your mailbox every week, where which has updated technology within the ecosystem. And predominantly I will rely on this one because like this is newsletter is released by the Flutter.
Understood. So you subscribe to some newsletters in your area of interest. What else?
Yeah, and then I will go for the GitHub trending channel, like what is trending in the GitHub community, and then I will look for the area which we are working on. Then I will try to run their examples, how it works, and if it is suitable and it is helpful to us, we'll try to incorporate in our ecosystem.
That's a good tip. GitHub trending. Okay, trending channel.
Yeah. And then, as you said, and I will have 2 or 3 authors who are constantly posting videos on the YouTube. So I subscribe to that channel as well. So I will keep on watching them, and I'll get some best tip from that too.
Okay.
So one thing which I sort of uh, Phil McKinney, right? So and this was around innovation, and then this is where where I sort of sometimes seek inspiration from unrelated fields, right? Because if you're trying to innovate something, it is not specifically around software or specifically around looking at technology itself. So that sometimes you need to disassociate with the specific subject and look at the breadth, right? Because there are solution areas which are outside the solutions actually which exist outside your narrow vision, right? And that is some amount of randomness in your exploration to solve something. You should definitely explore. I'm not saying this is you can get lost in the exploration, but what I'm saying is, at sometimes when you get stuck with a particular pattern, to break out of the pattern, you should go outside your domain and look for solutions how other domains solve similar problems or associated problems. Like earlier in our discussions, we talked about how construction industry, it can be an inspiration for how software industry works, right? How you can learn from civil engineering, things like that, right? So those are also, in my view, good ways to break the pattern. Sometimes you need to get knowledge from external sources, which may or may not be directly associated with the field which you're trying to solve the problem for. So that's, I think, for architects, that is a very important attribute, to look for inspiration elsewhere. Otherwise, you will get into the sort of the fixed patterns which have existed for a long time.
Got it. Super. Okay. Thanks, Venkat and Deepak, for sharing your experiences. Let's see what other tips other listeners and readers of us have to share. Thanks all for joining in to this episode.